Bat Force Radio.
Hey guys, Dustin Wynn.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder.
This is Paul Dini.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
You're listening to Bat Force Radio.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and you're listening to Bat Force Radio, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to Bat Force Radio, the Batman / DC podcast with no limits. Locking in again for season 11. Got a good panel tonight going through the second half of Dark Patterns. I got Grandpa Batman over in Texas.
Howdy.
I got Kevin over in New Jersey.
Hello.
Got Teases over in New Jersey, straight from the T lab.
May the Bat Force be with you.
I'm Bat Force Times over in New York. I'm pretty excited to be back into Dark Patterns, which has been a lot of fun. Want to jump ahead for a second, and it's fun to see how these 4 standalone stories. Well, the last one is maybe not so much, but how they are standalone, but at the same time thread and interconnect for one story. So I thought that was pretty clever. I didn't see that coming, but I thought that was cool for this one.
Yeah, I was glad to see that too, because, just by the title alone, that there are going to be patterns. There are going to be things, trends that in some way are going to be interconnecting and interweaving. And so it was good to get that payoff there at the end. But before we get down to business, we got some other business.
Oh, shit. Let's go.
Our last episode was the first appearance of Kevin Gabagool. So we didn't really get to do give him his due like a lot of our guests come, and we didn't get to do like a proper lightning round for Kevin Gabagool. So
Gabagool.
I got some questions for you.
Okay.
All right. First, is it true that you have a replica print of Paulie's painting of Tony?
True.
True. All right.
Wow.
Is it true that you have Gabagool in your refrigerator right now?
True. Wow. 2 for 2.
Is it true that you have a cat named Big Pussy?
False.
Oh. 2 for 3.
He got whacked.
You got whacked.
All right. That's all I got.
All right. 2 out of 3 is pretty good.
2 out of 3.
All right. He just got his due.
All right. Here we are talking about issue 7 of Dark Patterns. This book actually was published in June of 2025. So let's go back in time, basically, to 2025. It seems so long ago. I love how it just opens up with this panel of Bruce sitting in his chair. You got the background of Gotham behind him, and it starts with this inner monologue saying, "Gotham City, I think we need to talk." And he's like icing his fist that he's been beating up criminals and who else he beat up in the last story, The Voice of the Tower, all the apartment people and Scarface goons.
Yeah.
This opening page reminded me. This story, there's some nods to Tim Sale as well, and basically the first page of The Long Halloween, it opens with the saying, "I believe in Gotham City,"
Right.
And this one says, "Gotham City, I think we need to talk," and it had that same vibe to me. So I thought that was fun.
And again, I love it again that their Bruce Wayne is this battered, beaten, bruised, and bloody person. He's not like, just undefeatable. He's a person. And one thing that I always notice when they show him without the cowl is he has like that bandage on his nose. And have you guys ever worn like a Batman cowl?
Many times.
Yeah. You know how that nose piece can kind of sit on your nose and be uncomfortable. So I thought that was smart. I was like, I wonder if Hayden had worn a cowl or something at some point, because putting that padding on the nose makes it a little bit more comfortable, I guess.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's really defined. You can really see it in pretty much the first 5 pages. It's really emphasized. And you also see the shadows in his eyes. You can tell he hasn't had any sleep, right? There's references of him fighting off a fever, and he's just pushing himself to the limit. And you could really see that he's just very dreary, right? He's susceptible to anything.
I didn't even notice this upon my second time reading it, but the clown face, like smile that's in the bandages when he's explaining that pareidolia is the name for how he perceived patterns where there are none. Seeing faces in clouds, or the man on the moon, and then I guess he's seeing a face that isn't really there, obviously in the bandage. It was pretty cool.
That is a good point there. Wow, that is cool. And he talks about how there are patterns, and Gotham City is suffering these fires, and it's like almost night after night there's a fire in the city. And he says, but tonight there's another fire in Gotham, and you can see that, the light and the smoke rising up from the city. And he says, and I've had enough. And there's that splash page where he's looking out his window. I love that.
And then the next scene, I like how how he hovers into the cityscape, and he sees new remnants of Gotham and old remnants of Gotham. And it really makes you think of these older cities in the world that sometimes they don't even start from scratch. They just build on top of the old remnants of the city, right? Like you see that in countries like Israel that have high altitudes. They just build on top. And that's what kind of reminded me of that. You have this disheveled version of Gotham in the center, and he's describing too, like, some of these places don't even have street names. People just know them by like landmarks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really cool, because old Gotham is still there, right? And that's a big part of what this story is about too.
Well, also, like we talked about in our last review, how Sherman, his panels, it's like he just puts them on the page like they're puzzle pieces.
Right.
And, some of these are like at weird different angles that don't or shouldn't make sense on their own. But when they're put together in the, the context of this whole page, it's like, wow, that looks really cool.
Right. It's part of the landscape of a bigger photo or illustration, rather, which is really cool.
This fire that is going on this night in Gotham is in a part of town called the Rookery, which is basically this older area of the city, this neighborhood that he states that it was half rebuilt with temporary materials decades ago after a minor earthquake. The city never bothered to go back and fix it. The streets here have no names and no numbers. That's terrible. I mean, your own city government doesn't even care enough to come in here in Gotham and rebuild and rename the streets. It's almost like they're just like pushing these people to the side and being like, you just fend for yourself. We're going to move on without you.
And I think his interaction with that bum kind of sets the setting and kind of tells you exactly where you're at, right? Because out of nowhere, this guy just randomly blurts out, "Oh, I have an astrophysics degree," and he's eating a skewer. He's eating a skewer of a rat, right?
Well, you missed out one of my favorite lines in Batman mythology, I think, at this point, when all he says is, "I'm eating a rat." And then he goes, "Did you not hear me? I'm eating a rat." And Batman goes, okay. Fucking amazing. That only a Brit could write something like that.
Yeah.
I know.
I see you looking at my rat. Get your own.
Yeah, he wanted his respect, you know. But right after that, he kind of sums up this scene because he's explaining, even though he has a degree in astrophysics, he's saying you're in a black hole. You're in the depths of what this whole area is. There's no beginning. There's no end. There's just nothingness here.
Right. And I mean, that even point's proven on the next page when you turn over and he's climbing up a wall and it looks like people that are at the windows, but it just looks like, are they mannequins or are they real people? I don't know. They got
pretty terrifying stuff
coming out their mouth. Yeah. Either way, it's disgusting.
I think that's just a byproduct of the rookery. When you grow up there, you might end up looking like a fellow like that.
And I looked up the word rookery. What is the definition of it? And it basically means like a congested slum.
You nailed it, yeah.
Yeah.
They get it straight to the point on that one. But
right.
This scene, I thought it has really interesting horror element to it. We'll get to that with the laundromat being burned and the washing machine, right? But quick, clever note. Did you guys pick up on this?
The name?
Yeah, I mentioned it in the chat. Morris and Son as a homage to Grant Morrison. I thought that was kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool.
But this scene, I thought was horror elements all the way. Just this burnt carcass inside a washing machine. I don't know. It definitely gave me almost like Seven vibes.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
When I turned this page and saw that, literally my first reaction was, "Oh my," because that is absolutely disgusting.
Only in the rookery can this happen.
Yes.
Look at the name of the washing machine.
Klaus.
Man, these guys are all about giving the due.
Yeah, there's a lot of due in this book.
So they take this body back to Dr. Sarika's laboratory. They explain, or he explains, that this is called the pugilist stance.
Right.
And that's an actual thing where when a body is, basically a deceased person is in an area where there's like a lot of heat and temperature, it's like it makes your arms constrict to put up in like a fighter pose.
Wow. Yeah, I really like that he did his homework on this, right? Because it really makes it feel authentic, and it's a prelude to who we start finding out who Dr. Sarik is as well. So,
so they think it's a male that is this victim, but Dr. Sarika points out, no, this is a female. He says, I'm going to need some time to figure out her secrets and find out basically what
pry
happened.
out her secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not too creepy, but
Yeah.
Just have her stay overnight. I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Imagine the smell.
Yeah. Especially after we find out really what it is, right? Like, imagine the smell after that. You're talking about decades of decay.
Cannot be good.
Yeah.
Cannot be good.
Okay, so this is where this one threw me for a loop. Decades, generations, whatever. Wouldn't the body fully decompose after it was unearthed? I don't know.
That is a plot hole that
yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out, but
I think we have to leave it up for the fantastic of the comic book world.
I mean, these guys,
they were so in depth to explain what the Puglia stance was, but not in depth
about how a body could not decompose for generations.
Right.
Just, what the fuck?
Suspend your disbelief.
Yes, you have to suspend the disbelief.
Next scene, we see Bruce in Wayne Manor, waking up. Alfred's actually coming to give him his morning breakfast concoction, his nutrition shake. I love the way this guy writes Alfred. Now, this is the Alfred that I love.
I was about to say the same.
Yeah, he's a bit witty. He's a bit cheeky.
He's very
he's very cheeky.
He's very cheeky. Yes.
Yeah. They're going through the old history lessons of the old gangs of Gotham, and
well, Bruce tells him something about what happened and how the body was stuffed in a dryer in a laundromat that was burned down. And Alfred's like, a laundromat? Why does that sound familiar? And I love how Alfred is always kind of the one that he has some input that always in this book helps Bruce in the investigation. And he pulls out this old Gangs of Gotham book, which, I mean, is there an old Gangs of New Jersey or old Gangs of New York book that someone published? That'd be cool to read.
I'm willing to bet that exists.
I do like how they have these flashbacks while Alfred's reading the book.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool how they weave then and now into it. And they were talking about what went down in terms of the body and the bleach, which was very interesting as well.
They would literally put this person's head in bleach and melt their head off.
Literally just scalped them, just peeled them off.
And he also explains that a lot of these men in these gangs were men that came back from, I'm assuming, like World War I, and without work, they kind of formed their own gang to provide for themselves and where they lived. And this particular gang that operated in the laundromat and bleached people's heads off was known as the Red Hood Gang.
Which is a sick callback.
That is cool.
I think there's a lot of truth to that, though. Well, maybe not necessarily the Red Hood Gang stuff, but people coming back from World War I and they needed to, support their families somehow, so they resorted to organized crime.
Well, also think about, that was a war that, those guys came back and they had no support system for everything that they dealt with. It's not like today. And veterans even today deal with the atrocities that they see from, their tours and whatnot. But imagine back then when I can't even imagine.
Yeah, there's no mental health initiatives, right? All these guys come back with PTSD. They're equipped for combat. They have to kind of mesh back into society, and they don't know how to do that, right? Or like you said, they're not supported by the government, or maybe they don't have loved ones that are alive, or or they lost people. They're on their own, right? They're kind of going rogue and kind of blending into society again.
Yeah.
So they only lean to what they know best.
Bruce says that I've already encountered the Red Hood Gang because, as we've discussed in the past, this is year 3 of his career into Batman. So at some point, he's already dealt with the Red Hood Gang, which also would have included the Joker as part of that Red Hood Gang. And Alfred says, I believe you may have encountered a modern organization attempting to capitalize on the violent reputation, but the original Red Hood Gang has returned to the Rookery. So Alfred kind of already sets the scene here for, I don't know, a potential suspect in who killed that person and who may have also lit that fire in the Rookery. But Bruce doesn't really believe him. He says, that's a pareidolia. I need evidence. He's not trying to look into patterns of make-believe. He needs hard evidence, and he needs to go back to the Rookery, and we get to see that beautiful Batmobile once again.
The more and more I see that Batmobile, I just want to just investigate it and just see its inspiration. It feels like that classic, golden age, but it looks very modern, right? It's a healthy balance of all the Batmobiles we love.
And there's those old timey cars that he's passing on the road again.
those Dick Tracy cars,
These next two books really dive deep into the callback to the early 1930s,
For sure, and it's just one of those things where it necessarily doesn't really feel like it either, but it's kind of like this timeless scene where it's salt and peppered in. It doesn't feel modern, but obviously whenever you see photos or movies, automobiles tend to kind of obviously set the time frame.
Even I think there's one we'll get into in the next story, but there's a panel showing how this lady's dressed, and she's wearing kind of this little side hat that kind of looks of that era. Batman notices this man following this woman along the street, and she is going down an alley. He puts on this mask and says, "Okay, lady, time to die for Satan."
Wrong turn.
Wrong choice of words. But as Batman's chasing this guy, he gets to this one point where he stops and does not want to go to this point. And he even says, no, not there. And at that time, Batman, entangles him in his rope and pulls him up. And I love how we get to see that guy's point of view getting pulled up how many stories up in the air.
It was kind of random how he was just like telling Batman, "You broke my nose,"
Right.
This guy has a full mask on, and somehow Batman broke his nose by just sending him upward in those wires.
Well, obviously he wasn't wearing the little patch on his nose that softened the bridge.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But Batman wants to know why he stopped running at that one point, and he suspects that's kind of the Red Hood gang territory, and he knows not to cross into it. That at the edge of the Rookery.
And the guy says the Rookery is a hell of a lot scarier than you.
And then he screams back at Batman, "What the hell are you talking about? What Red Hood gang?"
Notice that guy has like some really big side. Yeah. Like he looks out of time.
He looks British.
He does. He looks he looks Irish.
Yes. Right. That's exactly what I thought too. And I think there's a reference to that. They kind of said that in the early days of Gotham, a lot of settlers came from Europe and stuff like that, and there was a reference of they originated from Ireland, and so that kind of sets the tone of what's going on in the Rookery, right? There's just people that are just trying to make it, and they're willing to just kill to survive,
right?
And kill for Satan, apparently. That was so random when he's like, "Time to die for Satan." And I'm like, what? What's happening here? It's like it's coming out of left field.
I think it's just adding to the horror aspect of the story.
For sure.
Batman's
definitely out of left field.
Yeah. Batman's back at the scene of the burning laundromat looking for clues. He's talking to Gordon at the same time, and he's like, "There's nothing here. There's nothing at the scene to tell me anything. There's no patterns in this ash."
It's kind of funny because Gordon looks like he's talking on a cell phone or some kind of like mic, right? Because if you really look at that panel, like he's talking to Batman.
Yeah.
And he's got some kind of, it's obviously a walkie-talkie, but from a distance, it looks like he's just talking to him on a cell phone. And then he's pissed that Batman left this guy disheveled above in a few stories.
Yeah. Well, he goes on to tell Batman that he's just come from Sarika's lab, and he may have found something on the body, on the skull, as though the head had been exposed to acid pre-mortem.
Acid or bleach.
Yeah. This is a really cool view where Batman turns and he looks up at, all the buildings in this square that the laundromat was in. And it looks like all these people that are looking down on him here in the Rookery. And
just
he's
a whole bunch of zombies.
Yeah, he's like kind of puts out a plea to them. He's like, "Tell me where they are, and I'll rid you of the Red Hood gang." And you see people closing their windows and shutting their blinds. And then he says, "Very well, the game's afoot." And that's the end of issue 7.
The cover for the next one's really cool. It's very 1960s-esque.
Notice who the headline's by. Mr. Nicky Harris.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So Batman is basically spending every night patrolling the Rookery, and Nicky Harris is writing about this in his little tabloid, The Den. He's even there taking photos of Batman, which is pretty hard to get.
Yeah, I found that interesting that he got really, these cinematic shots of him, and putting them on his front page cover.
Batman's really leaning in and trying to find who killed the woman in the laundromat and where's the Red Hood gang. And I like this scene where he catches one of the newspapers flying around in the air and sees what all Nicky Harris is writing about him.
And Ace Chemicals in the background.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Now we're back at Dr. Srinka's lab. He's got some information about the body. And Gordon is kind of telling him, is this really a case worth your time? I've got 2 other murders going on in this city. You're spending a lot of time on this one case where he feels that he could be best served, looking into other things. And Batman basically makes a statement saying that no one's even looking at this one but me. And he's kind of questioning Gordon's, rationale there. That one panel of Batman where he says, "Gordon, this matters," it almost kind of looks like 66 Batman in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. And you never really see him. You could just tell that he's just going through these endless nights, right? He's just spinning his wheels, and he's got that 5 o'clock shadow that, he's exhausted, right? You can see he's kind of susceptible, and he's kind of wearing down a little bit. And he's probably getting frustrated because he's just not getting anywhere.
Even Gordon says he looks exhausted.
You look like shit.
This is a beautiful panel where Batman comes into the office of Nicky Harris again. And Nicky Harrison basically admits that he's been writing these articles to get Batman's attention. That's a hell of a way to get Batman's attention. Nicky goes on to tell Batman about Dr. Srinka's past, where he worked at a body farm. Have you ever heard of a body farm?
No.
I looked this up. This is a real thing.
Huh.
Where basically it's like they train forensic pathologists, and people are, either donate themselves or, a lot of times these homeless people that don't have anybody to claim their bodies and stuff, they use their bodies for science, and they give them to these body farms, and they'll put them in situations to see how long and how they decompose, so that the pathologist can train and calibrate their expertise to be able to help police. It's crazy.
Yeah, that was kind of morbid. That put things into perspective, because I was thinking about the amount of people that do that in real life. That's just surreal, right? After you move on and your body's still there, and people are tearing you apart or just investigating, and it's really morbid. Like, it really kind of hit me at that point when I read that. I was like, shit, it's kind of dark.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do after high school, Timmy? Oh, I want to go get a job at the body farm.
I want to be in the body farm.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, do you get a stipend before you, like a few years before?
Now we're back at the laundromat, and there's a couple of kids hanging out wanting to get a look at Batman. Which, I mean, who wouldn't, right? And they've noticed that, or one of them says, "See, I told you, this is where he starts every night, where the fire was." So he's been coming back there so regularly that the local kids have even picked up on his patterns. Batman walks inside the laundromat here, and he starts his investigating and looking over the scene again. And those kids are just like hiding out. One of them says, "Oh shit, I think he sees us. Run." And they take off. I'm surprised he chased them.
Yeah, you never really see that. And clearly it was some kind of scripted move, right? Because they kind of knew that Batman was going to chase him. But up to a certain point, he was kind of baited with this little plot.
Yeah, I mean, Batman's little thought bubble says someone in the Rookery knows who did this. Who's been trying to evoke the myth of the Red Hood gang who once resided here.
The grave is fresh.
And, in his exhausted, tired mind, he's looking for any clue he can find. He thinks maybe these kids have heard some rumors or know who did this, saw something. So, yeah, I guess that's why he's pursuing them so hard. And they put up a pretty good chase because they go over this yard or this fence of this yard, and Batman stops because he sees what looks like a freshly dug grave.
I love how he kind of just gets on his hands and knees and thinks that he can just dig up a grave with his hands.
Yeah.
He does it.
He does. It wasn't that deep, but it was the ultimate setup, as we could see. He opens up that little cover, and he sees in disbelief that there's nothing there, and then he just catches one in the back.
Right. Someone had been setting him up and was waiting for him. We see a gun aim out the window behind him. This next two pages are pretty interesting. This double splash, because it shows the gun being fired, the bullet in the air, and then hitting Batman. But Batman, this is a little ridiculous, but he knows by the sound of the gun, the caliber of the gun, the angle, the direction that it came from, approximately how far, but he also says, by the time I hear it, it's really too late, and it's already hitting in the back.
I love how he just says, like, it was a sloppy shot.
Yeah.
And he keeps moving.
Yeah. One thing that I took away from this is, and this fits right in with, our year one and Long Halloween, Dark Victory, Batman. I mean, he's not wearing like Kevlar. This is like spandex, basically, right. His suit.
He's got a little grapnel gun in the back, and he's got his little utility belt, and that's it.
That's it. It's interesting how his first instinct after being shot in the back is to go find the person that shot him instead of getting, back home and getting out of there. He busts down this door and he says, "You should have run." And we see the shooter, who is this old man in a wheelchair hooked up to an oxygen tank. This is where, this story really takes a twist here. I wasn't expecting this at all. What do you guys think when we start seeing who this man is?
I mean, I was definitely shocked when all of a sudden he got shot in the back, and then he meets this guy, and yeah, you're kind of just you're trying to see what the exact motive is. Like, why did he
Yeah.
have this? I mean, clearly he knew Batman's patterns. He knew that through these series of events that he would have his opportunity, and it wasn't that hard for him to do that. So,
Right.
um, so when you meet Grandpa, you see he's disheveled. He's on the verge of dying, probably, and you see that there's a part of him that wants to. He doesn't want to lose what the rookery means to him, right? Like, and the history of what this means. He's almost, to me, I feel like he came off as like a victim or like a product of his environment, right? And he's the last of the dying breed of these. He quotes to be part of this Red Hood gang, and he fears that the memory is going to be lost, and by him doing this and kind of redig, he eventually reveals that this body got dug up and that Batman got lured into it. But he starts talking about his memories as eventually you learn that when he's a kid, that he witnesses this girl that gets killed, right? So he
Right.
wants to kind of keep this memory alive because he feels that all this is going to be done. Like, there's no one's going to respect the origins of Gotham, and the legend of this Red Hood gang is on the verge of just being forgotten.
So here's another pattern where we've got now our third story where you've got someone living in this area wanting to hold on so tight to their neighborhood, their home, that they're willing to go to some extreme measure and resist the assistance of Batman and anyone else.
So much that he dug up a body from 40, probably 50 years ago, right? Because he said he was 12 years old when this happened, and clearly he's probably in his 70s. So probably over 50 years later, he digs up a body just to engineer a type of attention.
Right.
Um,
And then the kids come in. Batman, he's losing so much blood that he could barely even stand. And Grandpa says, "You should have just gone away. The rookery doesn't need you. It knows what it is. It knows how to look after itself. And without you here, it'll remember all the better." And Batman kind of passes out. And we have the two kids standing next to the old man wearing the red hoods. End of book 8. I wasn't expecting this type of antagonist in this story. And it also shows how easily sometimes Batman can be blinded by his own, ambitions and his thought process and trying to find, clues and who he suspects it is, that he's not paying attention to what all is going around. He's not mindful of his surroundings, as Ra's al Ghul says in Batman Begins.
Yeah, this is definitely an amateur Batman, right? This guy he's kind of one-minded right now, and he's not strategic, like you were saying.
Yeah. He's just laser focused on what he sees in front of him and doesn't really take in the whole picture sometimes. Which, I mean, it makes for a great story,
He kind of references that at the end of the story, now that you're kind of saying that, but I'll talk more about that at the end. But
yeah,
the one-track mindness is kind of what he talks about.
Right.
And to me, the rookery, you start understanding that there's a level of ignorance. And, in real life, people are a product of their environments, right? So if you're born into poverty, unfortunately, and you don't have the resources, you end up being like maybe a guy like this that passes that type of ignorance to these innocent boys, right? So much that he doesn't care about what's going to happen to these kids. He's just so concerned about his traditions and preserving that moment in time. But in the same respect, he's on the verge of dying himself, right? So he doesn't give a shit. He just wants the name to live on.
I mean, he's literally teaching these kids to have a life of,
Be
criminal
thugs.
activity. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be dirtbags, basically.
Right.
Well, I think he tells Batman that no one's going to care about this woman that we dug up from 50 years ago, but if they find your body, that's going to change everything.
Right. He's wanting to put the fear and respect of the Red Hood gang back in this area because, in his mind, those were the good old days. And there was a level of organization and, things operated better in this area that, in his mind, needs to return to the old ways, basically, is what he's getting at.
And somehow there's a nice, freshly poured bucket of bleach waiting for Batman. They're poor, but they have plenty of bleach.
They didn't take his cowl off either.
Yeah,
I mean, that'd be the first thing I'd do if I'd knocked Batman out. They didn't even take his utility belt off. Another big mistake. Big mistake.
Respect.
Biggest mistake.
They underestimate. Yep.
It's
They
funny.
actually mentioned that the reason why they didn't want to remove his cowl is because someone in the room was squeamish.
Mm. That whole scene where he's basically talking his way out of this whole situation, but or he's delaying the inevitable. And that whole scene where his face starts to melt as if the bleach was poured on him. I mean, that is absolutely disgusting. These two guys love gore. You could tell.
I think so.
You could tell.
Or science, right? You could tell they have some kind of interest in
maybe a bit of both.
Anatomy, physics, the science of how things, how the body decomposes. That's definitely a case study of theirs. And then, like you said before, Batman wants to buy some time, right? Because he knows these guys are not really that smart. But then he starts kind of telling Grandpa, you're a fraud. There's no way that you were part of the Red Hood gang because that was over 70 years ago, and you were 12 years old when all this shit happened.
You're too young.
So he's like, why are you even doing this, right?
And even talks about the gun. He's like, you weren't even a soldier. That was somebody else's gun.
Exactly, yeah.
And a real soldier would have taken better care of the gun and know how to shoot better.
And he knew that by what you were saying before, by the sound, and he could kind of evaluate the type of gun that he was using. And that's how he was able to find him so quickly.
And he even points out, he's like, tell me, Grandpa, what was the lady's name that, they dug up? And the guy didn't even know. And, he's doing all this. And while he's doing this, I'm just waiting for the scene where he is cutting the rope with his, whatever those talons are that on his gloves there. I'm just waiting for him to, bust open the ropes and take them out or do something, get a battering to the head for these guys. But this is where Batman really kind of uses his brains to get himself out of a situation. And then this story really takes a tragic turn.
Mm-hmm.
One of the kids, he sends one of the kids out of the room because, he knows he's squeamish, and what they're about to do to Batman is basically dunk his head in this bleach to kill him. And Batman has basically exposed this guy for being a fraud. One of the kids says, he's full of it, isn't he, Grandpa? Just trying to save his own skin. And the old man is lowered his head in shame, and he knows he's been outed, and the kid says, "It's okay. We knew. We like the stories anyway. I'll take care of this. I can handle it." And the old man says, "No, it's mine to do. This is on me." And tries to take the bucket away from this kid while he's also trying to hold this gun. And he drops the gun and it goes off and shoots the kid in the chest.
The second he grabbed that bucket, I was like, this kid's getting shot.
Well, I'm just glad it was in the chest. And I know that's a morbid thing to say because I was like, oh my gosh, where's this going?
Right.
Oh, and then I turned the page and I was like, oh my gosh, can't believe this happened. Yeah, this was a tough read when you have a kid that age get shot like that. And it just even shows the bullet hole in his chest. It's tough.
Right.
And then the old man, can't believe it. And he starts having a heart attack. And Batman's trying to, get him to relax. And the old man's going fast.
Look what they've done to my boy.
Yeah.
It's a really sad situation, right? And clearly this guy was just so ignorant and he had imposter syndrome.
Yes,
and
exactly.
He had to get it done, right? He had to have his part of the story and take claim for potentially killing Batman. And as we see, it no pun intended, backfired.
Right.
Well, he says he could have saved them, but he couldn't get the feeling back in his limbs. It was going to be 10 minutes before he would. And another 2 to get his hands free, which would be too long for either of them.
And it's just sad because, this guy confesses his motive in all this. And he says, he confesses that, yes, he was too young to have been part of the Red Hood gang. He was only 12. And he basically just saw them, what they did to that woman. And he thought he could do something good, thought he could make this neighborhood a little better. And I don't know. I was just like, that's kind of a twisted, warped sense of, ego to think this is what you need to do to make this world a better place. And,
it's like a generational ignorance, right? And that's symbolic of what he was passing on to his grandchildren as well. Yeah. So it would be a cyclical thing where it would just, you live in that area, that's just your mindset for the next decade, generations upon generations. And
yeah, and
it's disappointing.
It is disappointing. And it kind of falls within that trope that is kind of common with comic book villains, is where they think that they're the good guy in some way, and they think that in order to help make a better world or a better city and stuff like that, they have to do this. And it kind of reminds me of that famous quote, the welfare of humanity is always the alibi of tyrants. And
yeah, there has to be some kind of sacrifice or loss in order to kind of prove a point, which is unnecessary in this case. And Batman kind of sums it up at the end too, where I think that boy Jakey is on the steps, and Batman's like, shit. He's like, maybe I shouldn't even have come here.
Mm-hmm.
This was a waste, and 2 people died because of it.
2 people, yeah.
I mean, clearly it wasn't his fault, but it's just that grandpa just couldn't help himself.
Yep. One thing I noticed, I love the Easter eggs that Sherman puts in this. When Batman walks out, that kid's sitting on the steps, and if you look on the opposite wall in the alley, there's that looks like one of the balloons from Batman '89, where Joker has the parade,
where it says "No lips, just teeth."
Yeah, on the opposite wall.
On the other side, yeah.
I was gonna say, it kind of looks like the Tim Burton Catwoman logo a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. Yeah. From Returns.
He's definitely a Batman fan, right? And just like Bat Force Times was telling us in the chat, definitely heavy into Tim Sale. Clearly, that was probably one of his favorite artists.
Oh yeah, you see it on the next page when he's walking back into the Batcave, bloody. You see the long Halloween suit in the cave, and it looks like Alfred's working on a Robin suit. I mean, they haven't clarified if Robin's in it yet, or if he's present in this point in time in the story. But
well, clearly he is. I saw that and I was like, where's Dick Grayson in all this? But Batman, he doesn't even have the strength to take his own cowl off. And, Batman tells him, the Red Hood gang was never back. It was just some old man trying to make it look like they were. He had hopes that maybe the people would stop hurting each other, but he confesses, I achieved nothing. I brought nothing but harm. And that's a harsh reality for Batman where, he's got to confess that, he may not be directly responsible, but he is accountable in some ways for all of this.
I think that's the whole point of the story too, right? You think of Dark Patterns. No matter what good you represent, that's the system, right? The Dark Patterns is the ignorance and the tradition of these darker forces, and no matter what he does, he's still going to lose because you can't change that scenario, right?
Yeah,
and that's where I love to see this Batman that's really susceptible to these insecurities.
Yeah. Now this may be a stretch, but after reading this, I was like, why did Dan Waters write this type of story in this maxi series? I mean, this is very off the wall. It's very unique, very different. It's not the type of criminal that you would normally see or rogue opponent that Batman would go against. He's not usually going up a citizen of Gotham in this way. He's usually going up a big bad, nasty supervillain type of guy, right?
Killer Croc.
Hey,
this is the first book we haven't read. It's a Killer Croc.
We broke the pattern. We broke the pattern.
Yeah. the fourth wall.
And we know that Dan Waters is a British man. I don't know. This may be a stretch, but do you think that this may be some kind of veiled analogy of his perception of the United States kind of as a society?
American culture, yeah.
American culture, American politics. I hate to bring politics up, but for the people that say that, keep politics out of comics, you haven't read comics if that's what you really believe.
No, never.
Right.
We've got a section of the city that's this forgotten class with no jobs, no hope. I mean, the city didn't even rebuild their homes and streets. And it's kind of just forgotten about. And the police don't care. The mayor doesn't care. There's no jobs, no money. People are eating rats or whatever else they can find. They're burning, things down. There's a part later in the next story that says they were stiffed by the system. And then you've got this old, angry, senile man sitting in his perch high above the city. He's not going down on the streets. He's making a judgment on everything that goes on around him. And he's trying to leave a legacy or rebuild a forgotten time long gone by with a false narrative of better days and lies that he's told some younger youth. He lied about being a soldier. He lied about being in this gang. The legacy he's trying to rebuild is built on lies and illegal activities. And his way of dealing with anyone who's coming to help is to put a bullet in their back.
I mean,
I don't know.
You're pretty much describing propaganda, right? That's
and the little foot soldiers that he gets to help him wear these red hoods. I don't know. Who wears some red hoods these days? Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's kind of a veiled analogy of some of America culture and political scene. You know, even though, like we said, this was written in, or this was published in June of 2025, even back then. I think this is almost like Dan Waters holding up a mirror and said, "Hey, America, here's you. Look at yourself." So I don't know if that's a stretch, but I kind of thought of that as I finished reading this.
I mean, to me, it makes sense if you think of the post-COVID era of what we've gone through.
Yeah.
Control, fear, social media,
right?
Being, every day it's literally in front of your face and it's desensitized. These people from the Rookery are desensitized by their environment, right?
Yeah.
And they're helpless, right? So their ignorance keeps moving them forward.
Yeah.
And they can somewhat survive through just aggressive means.
Right.
Whether you're eating a rat or killing someone that,
right.
A woman in an alleyway for that guy said he was killing for Satan. I mean, these guys, these people.
Yeah, it's way deeper
insane.
than time to die for Satan.
So this is definitely an ideology in the system of fear.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah, I think that's a great point, and I think you're probably really on the mark about his perception of, it could be American society or just society in general, right? But specifically coming from a British writer, it could be his reflection on, maybe that's his perception of when he watches TV and sees what's going on in the news in America, right? The United States,
might not be far off.
The United States, or even like what's going on in New York, is the news of the world, right? Like I go on YouTube and I hear news from Australia. They're always talking about the United States, and that's through their POV. So we are the world's news. So this could be, I think you nailed it, to be honest.
It's something we'll have to ask him if we get him on the show.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, wink. All right. Moving on, we've got our next part of Dark Patterns. Dark Patterns, number 10. All right, Jesus, set the stage here.
All right, so it looks like we're back into shit. What was the original? It was the
Wound Man.
The Wound Man's building. Well, not his building. It was the Scarface's building, right?
Somewhere.
Bleeding Towers.
Bleeding Towers. Thank you. So now we're kind of back to square one, and I think Gramps, this is the beauty of this book, right? They're throwing us all these monkey wrenches and all these limbs, and now they're connecting now they're starting to really connect the dots, right? So now you have this villain, the child of fire, who's kind of back into these bleeding towers, which is, the parallel is very similar to what we've just spoke about with the Rookery as well, right? So these bleeding towers is like another area of Gotham where their inhabitants they're pretty much trapped, right? These people are just part of this ethos of control, right? They think that this whole building is its own entity. So,
well, even in part one with Green Fields, I'd say also.
Right. So now you have these three pillars of Green Fields was this like neighborhood upstate that was its own little colony, right? That's pretty much like what these things are. So,
yeah.
Back to square one, where they focus on this villain, the Child of Fire, that sets this building ablaze, right? And you have this couple that's kind of looking into this building, and they're kind of in disarray. And then you see this form of this. I can't even describe. I can't even describe what this outfit is. It's kind of like a porcelain doll meets like.
Well, he's definitely wearing one of those like fireproof suits.
Yeah, he's got some kind of heat flame retardant super suit, and he just rips through the middle of that building and grabs this couple that's looking in.
Yeah,
kind of sets the tone. This is back to being a horror movie again, right?
I mean, here we have a brand new villain. I mean, the imagination and creativity in this team, it's amazing.
This was, I mean, for sure, this was definitely a unique story. Now we're back to where we kind of originated in the first 3 or 4 issues. And again, Bruce is in bed, and Alfred is there, kind of watching him, and you can start seeing the type of Alfred this is, right? He cares about Bruce. He knows that Bruce has really reached his limits, and if he doesn't slow down and detach himself from this situation, it could be fatal for Bruce.
I think it's interesting how his recovery bed setup is in the back cave, where
it's like a hospital bed that's just happens to be in the cave.
Yeah, where if you know anything about caves and underground terrain, it's not the best air to breathe. Like, it can be very foul and lead to more infection.
Sure.
And I like how to fill out the page in between the panels, Sherman drew some bats hanging. That looks cool.
And he still has that nose strip is still going strong.
Still got the nose strip, the breathe right.
The breathe right strip.
the bat breathe right. You know what? I mean, this Alfred makes me miss him in the regular Batman title even more, because it's like they haven't brought him back to life.
No. You?
I'm not up to date, but I just know that he was dead for a long, long time, and
he's still dead.
Still dead. Okay. Turn the page, and we get a look at this dude that he's not a very handsome man.
Well, Gordon just pops up out of nowhere, right?
He's making an appearance here in Blackgate, visiting Firefly.
I really like this book's use. The new villains are awesome, but I think there was a unique spin on the older villains that they decided to include in here as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely using some of the lesser known and less used villains. The B team.
This kind of felt like, back to the horror element. This kind of felt like a little Hannibal Lecter-ish, like he's looking for some answers, and he's got to dig deep, and he's got to go dark within Blackgate and jump into the psychology of who understands the use of fire and who sees the world in this form, right? This repurification of what fire does, he sees that as almost like his religion.
Well, apparently there was one of the Blackgate guards was caught sneaking in contraband and I guess notes to some of the convicts, and Blackgate or Gordon tells
Firefly.
Excuse me, Firefly, that Mr. Dayton won't be joining them this evening. He may be joining you here in Blackgate after his trial. And Firefly knows that this person that's setting these flames is he doesn't know them, but he calls them his pen pal. And Gordon wants some information about either who this is, does he know who he is, or what are his motives. And like you said, that was kind of very Hannibal Lecter-ish. Kind of also
I thought that
reminded
cool.
me of Long Halloween with Calendar Man. Next, we jump over to the page where Bruce is still asleep, but he's having a dream where Nikki Harris is telling him about
Sarika.
Yeah, Sarika's secret with the body farm. Ugh.
So he's kind of now that he's in the sedative state, he's kind of rewinding these events that have just happened in the past few nights, right? He's probably wondering why Harrison knows so much information about Sarik.
Mm-hmm. And basically, he reveals that, while working at this body farm, Sarika had an episode where apparently he was taking some kind of hallucinogenic and had a trip that one of the bodies begged him for help, and Sarika did something very bad, which ended up, costing him his job there and how he ended up in Gotham.
He's trying to pinpoint Sarik to make him look really reckless, right?
Yeah.
Trying to set up a potential future cover up. I thought the next scene was really fucking cool. It's almost kind of like a Scarecrow version of the Batsuit.
Yeah.
Ablaze. I thought that was really neat. It's kind of just random.
This is in Sarika's lab, and again, the paneling, the jigsaw, different angles and all that stuff. I love it. It almost looks like a film strip.
Yeah, I was literally about to say, this felt very cinematic to me, right? You can kind of really envision how quickly this turned really, really bad for Gordon, and he's on the verge of death because now he's trapped and that room is ablaze. And then he looks into this window, and then you see that fucking creepy ass doll.
Oh yeah,
porcelain doll suit. This, like you said before, this is it's really imaginative, and it's I was trying to break down what it almost looked kind of like an Egyptian kind of tomb, but with the porcelain face. It's the way that he constructed this is it's kind of out there, right? It's not really, you can't really make sense of it, but it looks cool. I mean, obviously we learned that it's this ultra flame retardant suit that has filtration on the inside, but we've never seen anything like this.
No.
And just in the nick of time, Batman just crashes in to save Gordon, which is always appreciated.
Gordon says, he was in there, but he ran. How did you know? And Batman's like, I didn't. He came for Sarika, not Gordon.
Right.
And he's looking for where is Sarika based on the information that Nikki Harris had told him. He said he fled the body farm in Florida after half of it burned down on his watch, and the student died in the blaze. So because of the fires, the repetitive fires, he now thinks of Sarika as a suspect with the fires. And he came to Gotham, and he says he kind of put some blame and shade on Gordon. He says, you were so grateful for the assistance. You never questioned why he left. You didn't vet this guy out. Remember back in issue 1 where he's like, I don't feel right about this guy.
Right. Yeah, he called him out, right?
Yeah.
He said there's something off about him.
And he says Harris uncovered the story. This next page is very revealing in their relationship, because Gordon says, Batman, slow down. And he puts his hand on his shoulder. And he says, you look worse than I do. What happened to you? Where have you been? And Batman slaps his hand away from him. and kind of backs into the, the darkness. So, I mean, they kind of have this throughout this whole book. They have this tense relationship where, I mean, obviously Batman trusts him, but he's not his friend at all.
Yeah, I don't know if it's definitely not like a father son, but it's definitely, I don't know. You could see. I mean, this is Batman. He's seen him every night, and he knows that Batman is disheveled and sick, and Bruce is just pushing himself to the forward. And there's a lot of parallels with what Alfred is telling. Gordon is telling Batman the same thing, the same way that Alfred is saying that to Bruce as well. So you're seeing that Batman is just pushing himself to the limit because he's one track minded, like we've been saying in this story. He's just trying to get to the root of this. And then now you have this interaction where Harris obviously reveals himself to a Sarik who is tied to this pipe. And he's trying to create this common thread between both of them, saying that I'm the yin to your yang, kind of, right? Like we both kind of represent the same thing. We're two different sides of the coin. And then he starts speaking about the fires and what it represents, right?
Yeah, he starts having that.
Gets philosophical on us.
Well, where the bad guy always has to explain his motive and tell his plans to someone who is going to be his victim and stuff like that. It happens all the time in like James Bond movies. I'm like, shut up. Just kill him already.
And then he says there were two great fires of Gotham, one in the 18th century during the Revolutionary War. So he explains that to him, these blazing fires is a sense of rebirth and rebuilding in Gotham. And because of those two major things, he thinks in his head that it's made Gotham stronger, or it's revolutionized. Without these fires, the fires allow you to move forward, and it represents purity to him.
Yeah. Now, did this part surprise you? What did you think when you saw it was Nikki Harris as the Child of Fire?
I thought that was kind of anticlimactic to me. How about you, Kev?
Well, they definitely set it up like he's been in the book since the very beginning. I didn't expect it to be him, but I didn't hate it. Yeah,
it's clever. Yeah.
I didn't hate that.
I was disappointed. I was like, no, man, don't
Nikki.
Not Nikki. I was like, I wanted him to be kind of like Batman's little detective buddy that kind of, hey, who's got the dirt on this? Kind of work that angle.
I think Gramps wanted him to be potentially Robin. That's what I'm hearing.
No, I just thought it was cool. I was like, oh, Batman's getting some information from this guy who he's kind of like his
Jimmy Olsen, right?
Informant, the man on the street that Batman can always go to get the dirt on. I thought that'd be kind of a cool little relationship. But now he's a crazy guy too. He's a arsonist.
I love how Farrell gets out of the car and the truck, and he's like, "Man, how I miss that smell of ash."
I like how Bullock's right there, and he's like, "I hate this." So Gordon basically brings him out of Blackgate to help investigate this fire, kind of give them some clues about, again, motive, and maybe pinpoint the fuel source and just some information on who this Child of Fire really is.
They really made Firefly look like, he reminds you kind of like Freddy Krueger a little bit, right? You can tell this guy's been scorched many times, and he probably loves it.
Yeah. Speaking of
Boils.
Firefly, I'm still trying to catch that guy in Arkham Knight. I can't drive that car very well to catch him. Still working on that game.
You got to YouTube it.
One thing I like is how during this scene, Firefly is like kneeling down, looking at the rubble, and you see Gordon lighting up his pipe, which that around an arsonist, that's the wrong thing to do, right? And then, as they walk more and more through the rubble, Gordon throws the match down on the ground, and Firefly, he's talking about how, this fire that was set here, really don't pay attention to it, but this other fire, this was staged at the first fire of Gotham, and that's ritualistic. And then he looks over at where Gordon threw down that match, and Gordon puts it out with his foot. I like that little sequence there.
He's like, not today, good sir.
And Firefly makes an important statement here. He's talking about the Batman must have figured that out, but if he's still fluttering around, I wonder why you're asking me rather than him. We open book 11.
Book 11, yeah.
We're in Gotham Manor again in the library, and Alfred walks in on Bruce, who's got all these manuscripts in like a circle around him, trying to put together all the clues and, figure out what's going on with the fires in this case.
I really love that opening page. It just makes Bruce look like he's just reached a whole new level of insanity with this. Like, he's just frustrated. He's not he's not getting where he needs to be. And he's starting to connect these dots.
I even like how the light around him looks like the bat signal in a way.
Yeah, I was trying to like decode what that looked like. But the lighting and I'm sure Bat Force Times can speak to this. Just the colorist just knew the assignment on this one, right? It's just very cold.
Mm-hmm.
It really sets the mood. Where Bruce he's gassed. And it's funny in the next page how he's just flipping through these pages and you still see the little nose strip on him.
Well, he thinks it's Dr. Srika that is the arsonist.
Right.
And
at this point, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's connecting them to these historic fires.
Right.
The locations.
And finally, and Alfred's trying to get his attention. Finally, he just yells Bruce, which you never see him do something like that, hardly. Almost in a very fatherly way to finally snap him out of his, his trance that he's in. He's more worried about the infection from the wound that Bruce still has in his back from the bullet.
Yeah, he tells him, I thought I was going to lose you. I thought you weren't going to wake up. Batman's like, I'm almost finished.
Well, don't put him down in a bat cave with bad air, bro. He's got this huge mansion, and you put him down in the cave? Come on.
I feel like in other iterations, I feel like he's got like a medical bay in the cave.
Maybe so.
And yeah.
I'll give you that.
But yeah, you shouldn't be breathing in all that guano.
No. Nikki Harris is still having this evil conversation with, Dr. Srika, who's handcuffed to the radiator. And Nikki Harris is just unveiling his whole plan the whole time, just talking about how he planted the seeds for everything the whole time. He was the master. even from the beginning, even from the Wound Man, and
That was kind of cool when he starts kind of connecting the dots to the that original neighborhood where Woundman was from, and it's pretty intense, that scene when he leans into Sarik and he has the black eyes. He looks like he's utterly possessed, right? He looks evil, like pure evil.
and it's almost like he looks at Batman as like this symbol of Gotham that is more than just a man, and he does not like how Sarika, in his point of view, he's like, basically you just turned him into a cop, reduced him to, nothing more than just someone looking at microscopes. He's here because Gotham needed him at this moment, and he kind of paints him in this, light of being a symbol that his twisted mind is going crazy, and he thinks that these fires are almost like I don't know, baptisms and things like that can purify the city once again. Weird. And then he basically tells Sarika, you know what? We can't coexist. One of us has to eat the other. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's pretty far-fetched, and coincidentally, he has a spare suit available for Sarika.
Of course.
He's like, hold on, let me, I'll be right back.
Every bad guy will have an extra suit ready for their victim. It's how it works.
Leave it up to Alfred to kind of bring this all back to reality and give Bruce the clue that really snaps him out of it.
Well, yeah. And just like in the last book, how he was the one that kind of alluded to the Red Hood gang being back, he alludes to all this sounding like a headline, a Nikki Harris headline. And Bruce is like, Eureka, you've solved it. I like that panel where we get to see the point of view of Batman driving the Batmobile.
Yeah, it's cool.
In that, red lens of the Batmobile.
And it's funny, in typical Batman fashion, Alfred about to give him some medicine or, medication, and Bruce is just so impulsive that he can't even wait an extra second, and he leaves the pills, on the floor, or he just drops it. And then he suits up. Back to kind of what you were saying before, you see this Batmobile, and he's driving through the streets, and now you see this horse and buggy, right? It's like timeless.
It's like in his mind, I perceive it as he's envisioning, one of the great fires, that
the original fire.
Yeah, the original fire that
exactly
happened, and he's putting this together in his mind to understand.
You're right. It's like a fever dream, because the next page is back to those cars, but he's trying to kind of rewind the tape in his head and kind of reimagine. Or maybe he's reliving the emotions of the first fire in the 18th century.
He's given us a little history lesson about, how this fire happened at 3 a.m. and woke the city up, and it appeared to be, like the sunrise of dawn, except it was 3 a.m. And back then, the population of Gotham had increased like tenfold over the years due to the industrial age, and the infrastructure of Gotham wasn't couldn't support that amount of population, and even the buildings were still mostly built out of wood, and they had failed to fund a proper fire department for this massive population in this massive city. And he's explaining this while he's en route to the location of the original fire that started in the financial district at the Gotham Stock Exchange. and he says basically, with the events that's going on, whoever's setting this, they're ready to basically do the big finale, and he suspects that it's going to happen at the site of the original fire.
I love this this panel here. I think this is kind of one of it. Kind of shows that parallel of Bruce in action, but in the scope of that cape, you see the division, and like you said before, it's the same area, but from the past and future, they intersect in time again, and this thing is happening again, right? This reoccurrence is happening, because Gotham needs to be purified again. So now, this great fire is happening again.
In this guy's mind, yes, very.
In his that's his philosophy, right? That's his religion. And I love the next scene when he goes into the stock exchange, and he's in his suit. It kind of reminds me of that scene in like The Dark Knight Returns, right? During the heist, when he goes into the bank and he drops this duffel bag. Obviously, we think immediately it's some type of explosive. And then he hands it off to the security guard, and it looks like it has like a time blast to it. And it's go time, right? That security guard grabs that duffel bag, and he, as he moves, it gets infused, and he combusts. But he also plants these bags around the building, so he creates this instant blast that just sets the stock exchange ablaze instantly.
Oh yeah,
pretty cool.
And then he goes up to the trunk of his car out front and gets Sarika out, who's chained up while wearing one of those flame retardant suits, and he says, "All right, Sarika, I've always prided myself in being a fair man, so we're going to let the fire decide in whose image the city to continue, the child of fire to lead us into the future, or the old corpse of Gotham." So he's bringing Sarika in, and I guess this is what he means by one of us has to eat the other. So he's going to let the fire decide who lives or dies.
This is the grand finale. This guy's out of his fucking mind.
He is. Definitely is.
That leads us good the cover of issue 12 looks, though.
I know. I was about to say that leads us to 12, which is, this is to me a classic cover. There's certain covers that are just iconic, and I think this is a new classic. I love this.
You could definitely throw that on a tee.
Oh yeah.
Definitely, it's an homage to that Alex Ross cover. But I love the lighting. I love the random placement of the bandages. It makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. This is really
still
cool.
Got the nose strip.
Has there been a sequence in this where Bruce's face is out and he doesn't have the nose strip?
Let's see.
I don't think so.
No, going back to issue 1, he's got the nose strip.
I'm telling you, it makes sense. If you ever try on a cowl, it hurts your nose. But yeah, beautiful cover. This is worth buying just this single issue just to have this cover. Book 12 opens up with Gordon and Bullock and some other officers taking Firefly back to Blackgate, and Gordon says, "We need to turn around and head back toward the flames." And Bullock is like, "What? You want to take Firefly back toward the fire?" And Gordon thinks that Batman's walking into a bad situation, which he is always. Inside the stock exchange that's been blown up and ablaze, we've got the Child of Fire, Nikki Harris, who is ranting as usual with Sarika just sitting there. And it's almost like he's having this duel by fire. You know, he's like, let's let the flames determine which one of us is going to die here. I mean, he's just willing to sacrifice himself for the,
baptism by fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Baptism by fire.
Yeah. I mean, this is actually a pretty cool scene, right? Because he's getting a little cocky. He knows he has the advantage over Zarika. And he's telling him just to relax. He said, listen, the suit is built to do this. When he starts seeing that he's coughing, he's like, just read through the filter. And like you said before, he sees the flames and the fire as its own entity, and almost like a god, an act of God, right? So he says that the flames will kind of figure out their destinies, right?
Right. And his mask is this childlike porcelain, and Sarika's is the skull.
Right. It's pretty cool, actually. Kind of like this.
And this is where he starts, doing the.
He elaborates on his plan even more.
Exactly. He the big reveal, the big boss.
He shows
reveal.
you how he's been there the whole time.
He's been Spectre the whole time. He sifted through the ashes of Greenfields and found what happened and set in motion the Wound
Man's house.
He was in Bleeding Towers, and he set Michelle in motion with Scarface. And then he says, I didn't know if I expect her to do it, but it did warm my heart when she burned the tower to the ground.
I love the scene where Harris is talking to Zarik, and they're both looking to the fire, and you see that imagery of Batman, and he tells Zarik that the flames can play tricks on you, and he goes, "Don't even think Batman's here, because he's not."
Yeah, he says no one's coming. His goal is not only to kill Sarika, but he's explained in the past he wants to lure Batman to the flame. He keeps calling him like a moth to the flame. I guess he thinks that Batman needs to die also in this fire as well.
I think he sees the fire as like the judge and jury, right? He believes in it. Everything comes and goes by the decisions of a fire. I didn't even notice that before. They had this little montage of Grandpa with his two grandkids in there.
Yeah,
it's cool.
He explains how he set, fire bombs all over Gotham to basically help fire grow and grow and grow to recreate this great fire of Gotham. And he alludes to various other fires in history, like, in London in 1666 and Dresden and Hiroshima. Tonight, it's Gotham's turn to burn, let it in its own firestorm. And one of these bombs, I guess, goes off and falls down onto the street, and the truck carrying Firefly flips over and allows him to escape.
Do you guys see that on the marquee? It says the Gray Ghost Marathon.
Oh, it does. That's awesome.
Pretty interesting.
See, that's why I love doing these discussions where everybody sees something a little different or points out something that I never would have noticed. That's very cool.
He's got the Gabagool vision. That's why.
He's got that
Gabagool vision.
He's got good eyes.
2020 Gabagool vision.
Yeah.
He's got those young eyes.
Yeah.
He doesn't need these specs yet. I love these next couple of pages here.
Same.
Batman finally shows up, inside the stock exchange. He grabs the hand of Nicky Harrison. I guess he breaks his hand. And he can't believe that he's here. He's like, how are you here? How are you standing here in this? Because Batman, he just walked in without any, protective gear on. It's just him in his suit. Although it looks like he has a mustache on that one page.
Yeah, he does.
A mustache and a goatee. I was like, wait a second.
Wait a minute. This is Alfred.
Wait, that's Kevin Gabagool in the.
That's Kevin Gabagool right
there. And then Harris puts his dukes up like he's about to do something.
He should know better.
But yeah, it's really cool how Batman he's analyzed the situation. He's like, listen, Harris is not equipped to fight. This is going to go really quick. And he just takes him down in one shot.
Right.
And it looks like the suit kind of incinerates almost instantly, right? Like it kind of, it's kind of defaulted now.
Yeah, you see his face through the Batman shattered the porcelain mask a little bit.
Yeah. But
it's not looking good for Nicky.
But he has the strength and energy just to get up and run. Damn it. I love it. So Batman goes to save Sarik.
He does, yeah.
And
that firefighter, he's never seen anything like that in his life. You see his eye looking at Batman. He's like, God damn.
Well, I think Batman could survive in these fires because he's in the cave breathing that air. So, yeah, lack of oxygen.
It conditioned him.
It's conditioned him.
Yeah. So, like, a 12 alarm fire is no biggie for him.
Spend an all-nighter in the guano cave.
No big deal. I like this next page where we have this interaction with Firefly and Gordon. Gordon is waking up, and we see his point of view, and we see him looking into the eyes of Firefly, and he says, do your worst. And Firefly's like, oh, I'm not going to hurt you. I would never take the choice away from the fire. Thanks for the flame. And he reaches down and he takes Gordon's lighter. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, it kind of ties back to what you were saying before, that when he was when he exited the truck before, Gordon was kind of flaunting in his face when he was smoking that pipe.
Mm-hmm.
So much that he took a couple puffs. He noticed that there was a little bit of flame. He stepped out of it. So
yeah,
he kind of Firefly's having his moment back a little bit. He's getting a little bit of his kind of power back a little bit.
Oh yeah,
for Gordon taunting him.
Well, I mean, and also, it let Firefly know that, oh, this guy's carrying a ladder on him. Easy. I love this next page. What did you think when you turned the page and saw this homage to Neil Adams?
I thought it was beautiful.
I mean,
maybe the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
This guy he knows composition, right? He knows how to really just engineer just a perfect splash page. Where throughout the story he used a lot of geometry, and I think he really just combined both ideologies, and this is like a perfect composed page.
It's just like when it's like somebody's hit, like in baseball, they've hit for a cycle. You're like, man, what else can this guy do? Then he drops this Neil Adams homage, and you're like, jeez. This is where it kind of wraps up the end of the story real quickly, but basically it explains how Batman was trying to stay one step ahead of the flames and putting out the fire bombs that Nikki Harris had planted across the rooftops of Gotham. And he calls it his hysterical strength that allowed me to walk through the fire. It's almost like he just kind of went into overdrive here.
To me, when I saw this scene, it was kind of like a full circle moment because you have these two psychopaths that are obsessed with fire, and Batman is diffusing these last bombs, and he's kind of buying into that philosophy of the fire, that he puts his hand out and he kind of he feels the fire for a second, and the fire has diffused. So the story ends. It's kind of like a big symbolic reference. And he kind of stepped into the scope of their belief for a second, and the story ends, and Batman kind of pushes the fire away, and the fire ceases, and it's over at that scene. I think that's a pretty powerful scene.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Batman's kind of explaining this to Gordon and I guess Sarika in his office, and basically he's just saying, I was just acting. I wasn't even thinking about what was going on. And per witnesses, they saw me do this thing that almost seemed like magical in a way. They said you were ahead of it. It was right at your heels, and then you turned, and that's where he puts his hand out and almost like stops the flame with his hand, which seems impossible. This is where the city of Gotham and the people of Gotham get their first chance to kind of see Batman in action. This is where the myth grows, in a way, right? Batman says, well, basically it was just hysteria.
Like I said, Gordon, just hysteria.
So
I love that when he disappears, it ends with Sarik saying, Batman is not well.
Yeah, that was really funny.
I think it's cool that they have a red phone on Gordon's desk, like
yeah, it's cool.
66.
What I like about the last final page is, to me, like, if this was a movie, this last final page would be like the post-credit scene.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. We see an injured Nikki Harris go back to his lair, and Sarika is explaining, a thing about fire in confined spaces is perhaps they merge, forming one blaze, but often they end up fighting for the same oxygen. And if that's the case, there's a good chance that they may smother each other out. And Firefly is waiting for Nikki Harris. Kind of like he's, you never rub up another man's rhubarb, right? And does that look like it's like gasoline poured on the floor?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I wanted to understand. So he's going to blow him up.
Or maybe he's just going to torture himself a little bit, right? Just kind of feel the flames. Because, like I was saying before, Firefly's definitely had some bad situations with fire, so much that
he loves it.
He loves the pain, and his face is unrecognizable because of it, right?
Yeah.
So that's his fetish. That's his escape in a sick way.
Is he maimed? He is maimed in other versions, right? Or is this like an over the top version of Garfield lens in a way?
No, I think he is actually scarred from fire.
Just not as bad as they do it in this, because like Jesus was saying, it's very Freddy Krueger-esque.
And we close Batman Dark Patterns with a final view of Gotham City. And Batman, again, is having this inner monologue where he say, there will be a fire tonight, Gotham City. A fire can destroy or it can protect. It will blaze, sculpting the city the way it always has. It's been a little wild of late, but that's because it's been adapting, taking a new form, accepting a new shape. There will be a fire tonight in Gotham City. There always has been. And you see Batman leaping off a high rise towards his next adventure. All right.
That's a great last scene. It kind of almost creates the Batman logo
Yeah, it does.
In like an abstract way. Wow.
All right. You guys ready to get to the rating?
Let's rate it.
Well, first, before we get to the rating, any last thoughts on the last story that had the Child of Fire and Nikki Harris revealed as the big bad, basically trying to set fires in Gotham as a form of rebirth and being crazy.
I like that he was kind of there from the beginning. And I guess that's a constant with villains, and not every villain, but they want to burn everything to the ground and start anew to purify.
Yeah.
But maybe it wasn't my favorite out of the four tales from the story that make up the trade, but I thought it was really good.
I thought it was interesting how in these last two stories, both of them, all four of the stories have been very detective-based stories, but, in these last two, Batman always doesn't have to solve the mystery and know exactly who it is to save the day or whatever. He kind of put the clues together and knew where to be, but it was like almost up to the very end. He still thought it was Sarika. He just knew based on history where to be at the right time. I don't think he knew that, or it doesn't allude that he knew it was Harris at one point.
Yeah, like the mystery was solved, but there's no resolution, right? This could easily open up to a new iteration or new chapter in this.
Oh, they definitely left it open. So,
as they should, right? I think too, like Kevin said, I felt like the second half it was interesting, but I felt like when we reviewed the previous that there was a lot left on the table with especially with Wound Man, and I know we kind of left it last episode like that, but there was a lot of components to this, and I don't think they jumped around, but I feel like they jammed a lot of information and storytelling in these 12 issues that things were really open-ended, but there wasn't a lot of closure to some things. But what a great book. The writing was phenomenal, but this is one of these stories where the artwork is just as strong as the writing. I think they were equally toe-to-toe on this one, right?
Yeah.
A lot of Batman arcs that we're familiar with rely on great artwork. This was the ultimate companion to the story.
Artists have the advantage in a way. They always have that ace up their sleeve where they can easily draw something that's a callback, like the Neil Adams homage and the Grey Ghost marathon on the theater. It's an easy thing to do, but like we said before, when it's done at the right time and the right way, it's just like, wow, okay. It really, really builds on the story. It really puts you in the environment. It's those little elements like that to me make me feel like I'm in Gotham. It suspends my disbelief, and it suspends my imagination, and it puts me in the book even more. I really like how Sherman did that.
And I think that's what makes this so unique, but which is kind of ironic, but you can tell he's such a big fan of Batman, and he grew up with the references that we did, and he loves what we love in Batman. But he also tells the story with respect, right? Which is kind of what the story's about, right? He kind of preserves the lineage of the history of the storytelling, and he's done that in some really great Easter eggs that allow you to read this a few times and catch new things.
Yeah.
which is genius. This is unique. We've never read anything like this, right? And he's able to bring other villains that were not really, in continuity, or villains that were really from Detective Comics, right? Like Scarface, that we
Right.
grew up kind of seeing. He's not recycling the ones, the classic rogues that we expect. That's what makes this really cool. And he's bringing these villains from nowhere, like Kevin was saying.
Yeah. We all have the trade, the collected volume. And after the conclusion of book 12, there's an interesting question and answer interview between the editor, Arianna Turturro, with Dan Waters and Hayden Sherman that I also recommend reading. Kind of gives you a little insight about how the idea for this story came about, how Sherman was brought in. At first, I think the idea was use a different artist on each arc. And he said, hey, I want to do all of them. And they agreed to do that. But it's very interesting to read. It's kind of like, taking a peek behind the curtain. I love getting to see, that process that the creators do to make these works. You guys want to get into the ratings?
Sure.
Let's do it.
All right, Gabagool.
All right.
What you got?
Are you doing it out of 5?
Out of 5, what we got? Out of 5, what?
Yeah, I'll do it out of 5.
Out of 5 cannolis, what you got?
This gets a 4 out of 5 cannolis. I think Dan and Hayden really understand Batman.
We're talking 7 through 12 or the whole thing?
Are we rating the whole thing? Or just 7 through 12?
Let's do both. First do
Okay.
7 through 12 and then do
7 through 12.
Yeah.
All right. 7 through 12. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5.
Ooh, 3 out of 5. I really enjoyed it, but I liked the first half more. I think, I don't know, I really dug the Wound Man. He was a very unique villain.
Right.
I have some qualms with the Nikki Harris being the big bad in the reveal at the end. But other than that, it was a really good. I enjoyed it.
Okay. So overall, the first part 1 you gave 4, and then this is what you said, 3.5?
I'll give it a 3.5.
3.5. Okay.
Out of 5 stars.
That's fair.
All right. Tease us.
Oof. Now that I'm thinking about, you know what? Now that I fully read this and I gave the first half a 4.5, I feel a little better about my decision. I would give the second half closer to a 4, low 4s.
Okay.
Again, I agree with Kev. I feel like the whole reveal of Nikki Harris was definitely a little anticlimactic, but it still spurred my interest. It still carried the story through. I like the fact that we did 1 through 6 and 7 through 12 because I feel like it was split down the middle, 2 separate meat and potatoes of different stories that connected at the end really quickly. I think the first half was the stronger half because just visually the settings of going back and forth through the Scarface building back to Wound Man's inhabitants, I thought was really interesting. But I do like the fact that they delved into the history of Gotham. So I feel like, for the creative part of storytelling, I still stick with like a 4 for the second half. Where overall, I thought the art was a banger. I thought it was incredible. I love the homages, the use of lighting, and the heavy lines. I feel like this felt like something out of Detective Comics. Like it was, but like really like this could almost be a movie or some type of TV arc. I don't know if it's like movie level, but this could definitely be a deep detective TV show that people would watch every weekend and really be into it. So yeah, I'd give it a solid 4.
Solid 4.
Cumulatively all around, I'd give the book a 4.
Okay. Definitely top shelf material.
Loved it.
I am in total agreement with Gabagool here. 100%. 7 through 12, I give it a 3 out of 5. I didn't like that my boy Nicky Harris was the bad guy in the 4th story. Like I said, I thought it'd be kind of cool to have him as a little teammate of Batman in a way. But, hey, we got a new villain out of it, and he's equally as creepy as Firefly. Who knows? They left it very open. Maybe we'll see them in part 2 of Dark Patterns. And that's one thing I forgot to mention in this Q&A interview. The editor basically says, if you enjoyed this, please let DC know so that they can do a second part. So, yeah, if you enjoyed this book as much as we did, definitely let DC know that we want more of Batman Dark Patterns. Overall, I liked issues 1 through 6 were a little stronger than 7 through 12, but overall, I give it a 3.5. This is definitely one that I enjoyed the art so much. I want to see more of Hayden Sherman. I want to read more of what Dan Waters writes. I want to have both of them on the show and talk about that. Overall, I give it a 3.5 out of 5, and definitely a must-have for anyone looking for a great Batman story. What I love about this, you don't have to know anything about Batman, really. I mean, this is a great jump-on book. Just pick it up and just read it, You don't have to know a lot about the history, and that's kind of gives a lot of history of Gotham City and in the pages as well. So definitely pick it up. All right.
So you're telling me it's better than Reptilian. All right.
It's definitely better than Reptilian.
All right, so I don't know. Yeah, no, the second half, 7 through 12? I don't know. I like the unnerving aspect of it again. I think the that imagery of the washing machine and the body in it in the building with the blown out wall was, I don't know, that horror element really sealed the deal for me with that one. It would be hard to fuck up the story after something like that for me. Nick Harris, right? It wasn't anticlimactic for me. I don't know. The guy's so fucking nuts that he's actually engineering his own lore in Gotham to keep things interesting and writing all these, fluff piece, the opposite of fluff piece of Batman. It's just, and then he puts on this, fireproof Michelin Man suit and drags the other guy in with him. He's fucking nuts, and he has like a big baby face, Egyptian baby face mask. I mean, he's out of his fucking mind. It's over the top ridiculous, and he's crazy. He's like the nuttiest one out of all 4 when you really think about it.
Well, that's what's funny is you've got Sarika that through the first book 1 through 6, we're making fun of him for being high all the time or just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And he's more sane than Nicky Harris at the very end.
Yeah, I think it was interesting because they set up Nicky as this Jimmy Olsen character, right? That this side guy that's helping with the case or whatever, and then all of a sudden he's out of his fucking mind and just And then, they threw in Firefly at the end, was kind of a nice touch. The overarching theme was fire, flames, and history in the city. So you kind of had Firefly in it, but he wasn't really in it. But he just kind of mashed well with Harris at the end, which is kind of interesting. So when I think about it in that respect, and then I tie in the other two stories as one, I'd say at least a 4 out of 5. I think it was quite good. It was very entertaining. Detective elements, horror elements, and the art was really good. The homage to Neil Adams, Grant Morrison, Tim Sale, The Gray Ghost, Batman Returns. A lot of fun stuff in there. These guys are. We're gonna put a review up too of a text review via Bad Force, and definitely reaching out to DC first, wondering why the fuck we didn't get a hardcover for this when the first everything else gets a hardcover. Like bad stuff gets hardcovers on release. Something
Reptilian, I think, got a
Reptilian has an absolute coming out, right? A gallery edition, right, Grabs? But so they really need to give some hardcover. No, more than a hardcover, I really want them to continue writing Batman in this. This is very Legends of the Dark Knight level stuff right now. So that's what I've really been. We have like when I wrote, we have a lot of stuff going on in terms of, obviously Absolute Batman, over the top, outlandish, Elseworlds, whatever. And then you have, overcluttered, big event, extra Bat Family, Titan stuff, people all over the place. It's very refreshing to get this Legends of the Dark Knight style, early Batman, lone detective storytelling. It was really refreshing. It was good because you had, like I said, you had the detective element and you have the horror element. But it's subtle. Good Alfred. They were spot on with Alfred. Very good with Gordon. Even the Doctor, it was funny because you think he's gonna be, something shady about him, right? But in the end, I don't know. This guy's just body farming people. So what the fuck? It's just so fucking nuts. So the more I think about it, the more I talk about it, the more I actually do like it. It's a solid read. It's one of those reads you could really give to anyone and they could just go through it and read it. And the artwork's fantastic, and the bat symbol in it's really cool. It's kind of it's almost like a cross between Year One and DKR. When when you think about it, or maybe even a little Tim Sale in it. It's a good one. So I'm very. It lived up. I think for me, it lived up to the hype because this thing has been talked about a while from whether consistent readers have been praising this story, this series. So I'm very happy with it. I really want a larger hardcover version of it. That's for sure. So yeah.
I don't know if the writer is gonna do anything else, but when I met that dude, Hayden Sherman said that he was working on another Batman book after this. So
okay.
I think they're gonna give him like a shot at drawing Detective or Batman when all is said and done, like the main continuity, which I could see him drawing for like the main Detective Comics for sure.
Yeah. So he's gonna get his due. It's pretty much.
I hope so.
Gonna get that mortgage paid.
So
yeah, it's kind of surprising with the past few books that we've been reading that there hasn't been enough buzz on these type of books.
yeah, I think this one was really under the radar, but overall most talked about. It's kind of because I heard the name, but
Well, I remember my friend tell me about it because he subscribes to the digital DC digital platform where you can read anything. and he was buzzing about this and telling me how much I'd really like it. And I've just been waiting for the trade to come out. And I think Dunk was going to come on to help us review 7 through 12, but he said that he went through like 4 shops and they were sold out in every one of them.
Wow.
So
yeah, because again, this is from last year, so it's probably going to be a little hard to get the.
No, this just came out. This trade.
I thought you said he was trying to get the single issues.
No, this trade.
The trade, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome to hear that it's sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna push for DC to get these guys to do more, or allow them to do more, because this was good. I could see them really doing an ongoing, like really good one. But what I really like is how I went into this thinking it was 4 standalone stories, which they kind of are, but then they also thread together, which I wasn't sure if that was going to happen or not, but that was pretty fun.
Oh, the idea of the name Dark Patterns could delve into more stories of Gotham, right? Like that could be an ongoing series of different lores of Gotham.
Yeah, like Killer Croc.
Just like Killer Croc.
What was really cool was how in the first page of the 4th story, he's the Child of Fire sitting in front of Scarface, the wounded man, and the burnt victim, the laundromat girl. So I thought that was pretty clever and really creepy. Fucking creepy. So, especially you got a little Scarface in the middle of the
Looking back at it, it's like that's a clue right there of who this was the whole time. Again, kind of going back to the tower, the voice in the tower. The clues were all there. We just didn't put it all together. But yeah.
So would you get a Child of Fire fig and a Wounded fig?
Yeah.
I would definitely get a Wounded Man fig.
A Wounded Man fig, yeah, with interchangeable fucking spikes through his intestines and shit.
I need a good
birthday boy fig.
Well, birthday boy, yeah. But a good Wesker and Scarface fig.
Yeah.
Oh.
I would take a Batman just of this design, even. I think it's a really cool design.
I would take an unmasked Batman with the nose with the breather right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That'll be the Chase variant.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for Batman Dark Patterns. We appreciate everybody tuning in. We definitely appreciate Mr. Kevin Gabagool joining us for our review and discussion.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll have him back. Yeah. We'd love to have you back sometime.
It would be a pleasure.
All right. Well, that's been Bat Force Radio. Thanks for tuning in.